oh my god, this family is crazy. Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Katie and I'm going to be giving a book recommendation today. This book is definitely going to keep you on the edge of your seats. The things that Tara experiences are absolutely crazy. Let me read the back for you. Tara Westover and her family grew up prepping for the end of days, but according to the government, she didn't exist. She hadn't been registered for a birth certificate, she had no school records because she'd never set foot in a classroom, and no medical records because her father didn't believe in hospitals. As she grew older, her father became more radical and her brother more violent. At 16, Tara knew she had to leave home. In doing so, she discovered both the transformative power of education and the price she had to pay for it. So as it sort of explains on the back a little bit, Tara grows up in a really Christian sort of culty family. It's quite interesting because the sort of abuse that Tara experiences is not, I guess, the stereotypical abuse you would associate with like really Christian culty sort of families. This is the family not understanding common sense at all. So things like washing your hands after you go to the bathroom, things like not driving in the middle of the night, in the middle of a storm because you're going to get into a car accident. Another example is things like if you get majorly injured and you've probably broken half your bones, you probably should go to the hospital. Her family completely rejects. They hate hospitals, they hate doctors, they don't want to have anything to do with it. So you can see that things that are common sense, the family completely rejects. And it's because they want to rebel against society. So any sense of good judgment just flies out the window. There's really an absence of reality with this family. I don't want to give too much away, but things like no one can exactly remember when Tara was born because she is one of the illegal home births that go on within the US. So no one remembers the day she was born, so she just sort of picks her birthday every year and just estimates what day it is because no one actually knows. From reading the book, as the title suggests, you're really going to understand the power of education and how it brings so much opportunity and freedom. I think that every high school student should have to read this book. I know for myself, when I was in high school, I had a good time. I liked hanging out with my friends, but I really didn't care much for studying, didn't care much for trying too hard, but I can guarantee you if I had read this book, I would have actually understood the privilege that I had, and I definitely would have tried a lot harder in school. The things that I personally took for granted, and I know a lot of us take for granted, Tara has to strive so hard for, and you see that she's an unbelievably amazing woman. She just overcomes so many crazy obstacles, and she really is able to succeed in the end. I'm going to read an excerpt from the book now so you can get a little bit of an understanding of Tara and how little she knows. This is halfway through the book. This is when Tara's gone to university and she's in one of the lectures. Then the projector showed a peculiar image of a man in a faded hat and overcoat. Behind him loomed a concrete wall. He held a small piece of paper near his face, but he wasn't looking at it. He was looking at us. I opened the book and I purchased for the class so I could take a closer look. Something was written under the images in italics, but I couldn't understand it. It was one of those black hole words, right in the middle, devouring the rest. I'd seen other students ask questions, so I raised my hand. The professor called on me, and I read the sentence aloud. When I came to the word, I paused. I don't know this word, I said. What does it mean? There was a silence, not a hush, not a muting of the noise, but utter, almost violent silence. No papers shuffled, no pencils scratched. The professor's lips tightened. Thanks for that, he said, and then returned to his notes. I scarcely moved for the rest of the lecture. I stared at my shoes, wondering what happened and why, whenever I looked up, there was always someone staring at me as if I was a freak. Of course, I was a freak, and I knew it, but I didn't understand how they knew it. When the bell rang, Vanessa shoved her notebook into her pack. Then she paused and said, "You shouldn't make fun of that, it's not a joke." She walked away before I could reply. I stayed in my seat until everyone had gone, pretending the zipper on my coat was stuck so I could avoid looking at anyone in the eye. Then I went straight to the computer lab and looked up the word Holocaust. So this is just an example of how little Tara knows about the world and what it's like for her when her eyes are opened. There are quite a few mental health disorders explored within the book. A lot of the characters have quite severe mental health disorders, and it's interesting the way that they're described because Tara doesn't know that mental health disorders exist. She doesn't know that that is actually a thing that people go through until she actually becomes educated, and then she's able to learn about all these things. Educated also explores these crazy worlds that I'd never heard of before. So for example, There are groups of women in the US illegally delivering these babies at home. They're prescribing herbs if the mother has any problems or the baby is unwell, and they're really acting like doctors, except that they have no professional training. There's also a huge risk with these women that they're gonna kill the mother by accident or kill the baby by accident because they have no training, and then they're gonna go to jail. It's such an interesting book, and it's so inspirational because Tara goes against everything her family has ever taught her. Her whole worldview is turned upside down when she's able to be educated, and it brings such freedom for her. She eventually is able to become successful and really achieve amazing things in her life despite her unorthodox upbringing. I highly recommend this book for you guys. You're really going to enjoy it. As I said before, you're going to be at the edge of your seat. To be honest, the abuse that she experiences is quite intense, but you've probably watched Game of Thrones, so you'll be able to handle it. So that's Educated by Tara Westover. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time.